I look forward to October, and October brings Halloween, the biggest time of the year where people look forward to being frightened. It's also around this time of year I'm also reminded of some of my favorite horror films, or better yet, favorite monsters, such as the Wolfman or the Werewolf.
Oh, typical. The first favorite monster is the werewolf. Yeah, and water is blue.
Yes, the werewolf would be my top 5 if I have a top 5, but it's actually not the werewolf I'm focusing on. Around this time of year, the one I'm reminded of most is the Headless Horseman. The Headless Horseman from Washington Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Mr. Irving wrote the story in 1820, though in the time since he's been dead, his work has long since gone into public domain, which since then has allowed for many different incarnations of his story. As a kid, the version that got me hooked on The Legend of Sleepy Hollow was Disney's 1949 adoption. As far as the story goes, one thing you can give to Disney's credit is that they did a very good job at keeping the story in the gray area. Of course, no incarnation of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is complete without Ichabod Crane.
It's the new schoolmaster, what's his name? Ichabod Crane.
Now to kids, usually the focal character is looked upon as the hero. I was guilty of it too. Then you get older and then you realize there are no heroes in this story, and Ichabod was a mooch. He was also a quite charming fellow, and he used that charm to get by as often as possible. Ichabod was the new schoolmaster who came to Sleepy Hollow to educate his children, and even though the men of the town and even the animals looked upon him as if he was strange, the women of the town on the other hand were hypnotized by him, which worked out just fine for Ichabod because as the town's ladies' man, he never missed a meal. But it wasn't always food he was after. Sometimes he turned on those dashing good looks and that charm of his to make a profit too. Now in no shape or form am I saying don't use what you got, but when you read between the lines, you realize Ichabod milked the town's women often to either fatten his stomach or fatten his pockets. He had a nice game going for a little while, until one day he met his kryptonite in the form of Katrina. Katrina Van Tassel was the daughter of the richest man in town. Now for those that know my work very well, as a guy whose entire channel operates around female tunes, I look forward to characters like her, the beautiful female who pushes her weight around.
Once you have met that little coquette Katrina, you won't forget Katrina.
If there's one character in Sleepy Hollow who can play the game of manipulation better than Ichabod, it was Katrina, as the little princess was very good at having all the men of the town march to her every plea. For her, Ichabod was just another Tuesday. The song didn't tell a lie. Once you have met her, you don't forget her. And throughout the day, she had the Wheel of Fortune spinning in Ichabod's head. I didn't say the head I was talking about was attached to his shoulders. Now remember, keep this in mind. She wasn't just a beautiful woman, she was a rich beautiful woman. And Ichabod wanted a taste of both of them, like the greedy dirtbag he was. The only thing that could stand between him and Katrina now was Brom Bones. He was the third character in the equation that would soon create a love triangle. As the town prankster, you would think he would be the antagonist, but for this story, you'll probably be wrong. Even though he played rude jokes on people and was prone to bullying, people in town looked up to him as a hero. Earlier on, even before Katrina was a factor in the story, Ichabod had already got a taste of Brom's mischief. Yeah, it was all fun and games at the time, but once Katrina was in the picture, all the jokes stopped. It wasn't just Ichabod and the followers that wanted her, Brom wanted her too. And for an intimidating guy like him, it was easy to scare all the competition away. And yet, so far, he was the only guy she held her nose up at. Katrina wanted somebody to challenge Brom for her heart for once, and that new challenger became Ichabod. And by this point, you can probably figure out that all three of them are some terrible people. And yes, Katrina was the worst because she was the one pulling the strings and fueling the flames. But hey, she earned that right. You want a piece of my cute little rich ass? You gotta fight for it. And she made sure to make both of them work very hard for it. As far as the battle between the two, Ichabod was proving the best, which even appeared to surprise Katrina. Though this did not mean the competition was going to stop anytime soon. Ichabod ended up winning the race, and Brom ended up making a fool of himself. just the way Sleepy Hollow's little princess wanted it. So for her father's annual Halloween party, she decided to dump gasoline on the fire even more. She invites Ichabod to the party and dances with him, knowing full well Brom is in the background watching, with murderous intent in his eyes. Brom would then soon start stooping to his pranks in order to get Katrina away from Ichabod. It works out for him for a good second, but Ichabod soon cuts back in. Unfortunately for poor Brom, he ends up falling down into the cellar and ends up losing round 2, where he ends up on the outside watching in. By the late hour, Ichabod's luck, however, was getting ready to run out. You see, he was a very superstitious individual, and that made for a very good opportunity to scare the daylights out of him. Who else would take that opportunity but Brom Bones?
Ghosts are bad, but the one that's cursed is the Headless Horseman. He's the worst. Demons take one look and groan and hit the road for parts unknown.
It wasn't stated how long the story of the Headless Horseman was getting passed on, but apparently Brom was the only one that met him. Depending on which version of the Legend of Sleepy Hollow you are either watching or reading, the Headless Horseman can either be real or a prank made up to chase the schoolmaster out of town. Either way, Brom was now making him look like a doofus in front of Katrina, who was now laughing her head off. And of course, you know where this is heading, the bad night will not end for Ichabod. While traveling through the hollow, the narrator mentioned that he felt melancholy, which was a feeling of sadness. Perhaps Katrina broke his heart just before he left the party. Compared to what was about to happen next, a broken heart which he had coming was about to be the least of his problems. Ichabod somehow ends up with a first-class ticket to meet the Horseman himself. Even if this somehow ended up being Brom playing a prank, would you want to stop to figure it out? The forest is pitch black and Ichabod has nothing but moonlight. He most likely wouldn't be able to tell if what was chasing him was fake or a nightmare come to life. From the way we got here, there are plenty of arguments to say that it's Brom, but there are also plenty of arguments to say that it's not. This goes back to that gray area I was talking about. The story wanted to remain neutral in order to keep the viewers thinking. Two big reasons to say that it's the Headless Horseman. One is when Ichabod actually gets to look inside the horseman's clothing and finds nothing. But once again, it was still too dark to see anything. And the other, which possibly led to Ichabod's undoing, was when the horseman actually stops at the bridge where his power is supposed to end. It does not stop a flying pumpkin from lighting Ichabod up, possibly for good.
Next morning, Ichabod's hat was found, and close beside it, a shattered pumpkin. But there was no trace of the schoolmaster.
With no more Ichabod in the picture, there was no more rivalry, and Katrina got what she possibly wanted all along. She married Brom Bones. Ichabod, on the other hand, got something completely different. Rumors of his demise became legend. Thanks for tuning into this Playfur Cinema special. If you liked today's video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe for future videos. My name is Jawbreaker, and I'll see you around.